of a sad one next. Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, has been diagnosed with a malignant melanoma following the removal of a cancerous mole during treatment for breast cancer. Obviously heartbreaking to read. The Duchess had several moles removed and analysed whilst having reconstructive surgery following her mastectomy. Now, a spokesperson has said she remains in good spirits. I know she has actually put up a little post on her Instagram just saying that she's taking some time to herself after the shock of this second diagnosis and thanks her dermatologist for great vigilance and, again, underline the importance of checking your moles. She's grateful for all the support at this time. I think that's one of those things that we all, you know, can easily forget and we don't look at. Dr. Sarah, the importance of checking moles, obviously it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's got a malignant melanoma, and that's one of the more serious types of skin cancer because it has the potential to spread. But it is really important to look at a number of different things. So I always go for the A, B, C, D, E rule when it comes to looking at your own moles. So A is for asymmetry. B is for the border. Is it, you know, becoming irregular in its border? C is for colour. Has it got two or more colours? D is for diameter. Is it growing in diameter? Is it more than 6 millimetres in diameter? And E is for evolution. Is it evolving? Is it changing? Is it itching? Is it bleeding? These are all the important things to look out for.
And Sarah, I guess, and it sounds obvious, but it is just about getting in to see a GP if any of those are sort of triggering or alarming, right?
Absolutely, and I think it's always a really good idea to take photos of your moles as well. Anything that you're even vaguely concerned by, take a photo and just make sure that you're monitoring it and looking back at it all the time to make sure it's not changing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that puts you more at risk of developing a cancerous mole?
Well, yes. So in terms of family history, if you've got relatives that have melanomas as well, you're more at risk. You're also more at risk if you have paler skin, if you have skin with more moles on it. But the biggest risk factor is UV exposure, so sunbeds and the sun.
Yeah.
If anyone's got any worries about this sort of stuff, Sarah's here with us for Call the GP later, so please do get in touch. We send Sarah our love to her and her family and our thoughts and prayers. This is when she guest edited this morning and she spoke about her regret using sunbeds. Take a look.
Sun-damaged skin, right, can it be healed?
It can be reversed.
Because, I mean, I did in my time, I did do sunbeds.
Don't feel guilty because I feel that there's a generational gap. We're both in our 60s. We didn't know we had to use SPF. We didn't know, did we?
My father died of melanoma, and so being...
So it's actually quite serious, then?
Very serious.
Absolutely. It's such an important thing.
Recently, I've been talking about, you know, getting your screening done for breast cancer. We've been talking about heart and defibrillators. And now
Go and get your moles checked.
Go and get your moles checked.
Yeah, so I feel like so many people use sunbeds even now. So we're sort of, I suppose it's one of the things, if you are going to use it, please be careful.
And it's not just sunbeds. My mother had cancerous melanoma when she was an old lady. It does affect older people more likely because she lived in California and didn't wear a hat and wasn't sensible. So it's
but at the time didn't know, I presume.
And indeed, at the time, it wasn't as well known as it is now. One of the good things about people like the Duchess of York and indeed last week, the King and the Princess of Wales, talking quite openly about their health issues, is that it does make people more aware.
Yeah.
And the outcomes with this, I understand, can be very, very good the earlier that you get it dealt with. So if in doubt, go to the GP.
Sonia, not to put rose-tinted glasses on it, but it feels like we've come so far from when we... I remember my mum wearing Factor 2.
Yeah.
And, but as in...
Oil.
Yeah, but as in exactly that.
Yeah.
But that was protection back then. It wasn't like she wasn't being cavalier, you know?
Yeah. Well, our knowledge about it has just increased so much in the last 15, 20 years. And even I remember when I used to go on holidays as a kid as well, you know, it was like 8 or 10 or 15 that was standard, and that's what you'd get in the shops. Whereas now, you can't even really buy sun cream in most shops under SPF 15. And personally, even though I've got darker skin, I just always, because I do love a beach holiday, and lots of people do, I just always stick with SPF 50. actually, because you can't go wrong, really. I think it's always good to be super cautious.
It is a generational thing. When I was a child going to Broadstairs Beach in the 1950s, there was none of any of this. There were no suntan oils of any kind at all.
Well, you sort of lie and burn to a crisp sort of thing.
Well, you just played around in the well, of course, in Broadstairs in August, it's quite a lot of rain, so it's not necessarily always a problem, but it is a serious issue.
And one of the things is that over time, because of what's happened to the ozone layer, the risks have grown of UV radiation, and that's why skin cancer rates are so high in Australia, because as a result of the changing climate, changing ozone, they have higher UV radiation than they would have had, say, 50 years ago. So it's one of the reasons why the risks have got greater, actually.
Let's move on.